What is good, Mexit planners? I recently just returned from a trip from Puerto Vallarta, and while Puerto Vallarta has many wonderful qualities and the trip was a very successful vacation, I cannot imagine myself living in Puerto Vallarta. Let's get into it. Puerto Vallarta is a huge bay wrapped on both sides by huge mountains. Whenever I take a trip within Mexico, I always secretly compare that place to Merida and evaluate to see if it's a place that I might want to live. I did the exact same thing when I went to Oaxaca. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'll leave links in the description below. But it's only natural that I do the same thing while traveling to Puerto Vallarta, even if it was just for vacation. So today I want to talk to you about my experiences being in Puerto Vallarta and what I think about it in terms of a place to live. While there are many expats that live in Puerto Vallarta, it simply was not for me. In the Creating Your MexitPlans course, I talk about two major criteria in choosing the location or city in which to live. The first is your lifestyle and the second is your budget. Knowing your style of living is critical to making a successful transition into a new city, and whether or not you can afford that style of living in that new place is also an important factor. For me, Puerto Vallarta passed the budget test, but for my brief stay, it definitely failed the lifestyle components. Let me say this, I was only there for vacation for 6 days and didn't get a great sense of everything that Puerto Vallarta had to offer. But what I did get to see and what I know about living in Mexico was enough to make a decision that this wasn't a place that I would want to live. Also, for those 6 days, I stayed in the heart of the tourist zone, which may have skewed my view of what it would be like to live there quite a bit. But I did the same thing in Oaxaca, and when I left Oaxaca, I could see myself living in that city, if not, long term, definitely for a couple of months out of every year. So now with those disclaimers out there, let me tell you about the things specifically that I did not like about Puerto Vallarta. The first thing that I didn't like about PV is that it had a very touristy vibe, very similar to that of Cancun down to the Riviera Maya. For my number 2 point, I also didn't like the fact that things were priced in dollars and in pesos. Again, this is something that you only see in a very touristy area like Cancun or the Riviera Maya. In Merida, everything is priced in pesos because that is the currency of Mexico. The third thing that I didn't like about Puerto Vallarta is just the food was so-so. I had 2 quality meals in Puerto Vallarta. The first was at a restaurant called La Capella, which was incredible. It was a 5-star dining with a violinist group that came and played love songs at the table with the sunset, and the venue was incredible. The service was good, the wine and the food was good. And then the second very good experience that we had was with the private chef at our villa in Puerto Vallarta, and he came and he just absolutely rocked everything that he cooked. But with the exception of those, I had 1 quality breakfast. Everything else was just so-so, and it was expensive again because we're in a tourist zone. And the fourth thing that I didn't like about Puerto Vallarta is I didn't get a sense that it had the same family vibe that there is in Merida. I definitely got a sense that this was an adult playground. And if you're single, if you're an adult and you're looking for that type of thing, or if you're a couple on your honeymoon, that's the place to go. But I didn't get the sense that it had the family atmosphere of Merida. The fifth thing is Puerto Vallarta has a huge bay, but it is definitely surrounded by mountains. Most of the homes with the spectacular views are up in those mountains. So I didn't really enjoy walking up and down those hills. And in terms of a lifestyle point, this is one that would definitely affect my style of living because I walk every day here in Merida because it's flat. I can see Puerto Vallarta being a great place for someone who wants to live in a tourist town, maybe not have to learn to speak Spanish so quickly. There are also lots of services like malls and many things that, quite frankly, we don't even have in Merida, like an Outback Steakhouse. I also got a sense that the city was very large and spread out. So you had the one side that was the tourist zone, and then you may have had the other side, which might not have been as touristy. But being that I was there on vacation, I didn't really get a chance to check out that part of the city. I had a great time visiting Puerto Vallarta, but to be honest, I'm not in a hurry to go back. And I'm sure at some point I'll visit Puerto Vallarta again, but on my next trip, I definitely will not be staying in the romantic zone. So far, Merida still has my heart. If this video has been insightful or entertaining in any way, do me a favor and click that little thank you button underneath. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, this has been MexitPlans Monty. I'm out.